The time is now if you are thinking of getting into the detached market here in Vancouver. We now have 2 consecutive months of inventory dropping, both on Vancouver's east side and Vancouver's west side, and the market and the segment itself is soft, essentially in buyer market conditions. So how long is this going to last for? I've been telling people for all of 2024 that this is the year to buy, and we have had some favorable data come in for November that we're going to go over to show you exactly why this is a great opportunity for you to get into a detached market before the market is going to explode next year, in my opinion. We have a lot of things in motion when it comes to mortgage changes with rate drops, and we can start to see that the market is shifting here with some of the data points that I'm going to be going over. In comparison to the condo and attached market, we know that the detached market is much softer in comparison to the attached market. So make sure you stick around for this whole thing. We're going to be comparing all the advanced analytical data, price bands, communities, so you know exactly whether you're a buyer or seller, where you want to operate, and when is a good time to buy or sell. My name is Kyle Mark, your Vancouver Realtor, and whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or relocate to my beautiful city of Vancouver, make sure you book that discovery call. It's in the description below. I'm super easy to get a hold of, and I'm here to help. You can always shoot me a text at any time. So let's jump into Vancouver's west side first and go over some of the data that just released here. At the time of filming, it is December 3rd, but what we know right off the bat is that Vancouver's west side is in buyer market conditions, sitting at 10%. And as a refresher to everybody, anything below 12% is buyer market conditions, anything above 20% is seller market conditions, and balanced market conditions are between 12 and 20%. And what does that mean? So balanced market conditions between 12 to 20 means for every 100 homes, 12 and 20 out of those 100 homes are selling. So right now, sitting at 10% shows that the market on the west side is very, very soft. And when we break down these analytics in all these areas, you can see that other than Kerrisdale, which is sitting at 33%, which is in seller market conditions, everywhere else is very, very soft. Again, University actually 25%, so they're in seller market conditions. But there are some really good opportunities if you're looking on Vancouver's west side to have selection and favorable terms on your offer. First and foremost, Cambie, 53 inventory, just 1 sale, 2% sales ratio. That is extreme buyer market conditions in there. Again, Mackenzie Heights, which is usually a very popular place, 20 inventory, 1 sale, 5% sales active ratio. Kilchina, 8%. And then Southlands, 3%, 34 inventory, just 1 sale. No matter where you're looking at, for the most part, you have a fair amount of inventory to look at. And you can see that for the month of November, 628 inventory and just 64 sales. Over 500 units available on Vancouver's west side. So if you're looking for a deal, you have a fair amount of opportunity when it comes to those communities. As we jump over into the price band to see where it is most advantageous for you to perform, and we can see actually there's a little bit difference in terms of popularity, and that's why I really like these analytical numbers. We can break it down by community, we can break it down by price. Anything from 1.5 million all the way up to 3, these is actually all in seller market conditions. So you can see 100% in the 1.5 to 1.75, 50% between 2 million to 2.25, and then it starts to drop above 3 million. And then if you're looking for the best places to purchase in terms of inventory and selection, you have a 2% sales to active ratio between 5 and 6 million, 46 opportunities, just 1 sale. Again, above 7.5 million, 141 units active, just 3 sales, 2% sales ratio. So there are a couple areas here to key in on, and when you pair it with the community and the price band, that is when you can start to formulate a really good plan where you can get the best bang for your buck. If you're a seller on Vancouver's west side, especially if you're in Kerrisdale or in the University area, and you're in this price point between 1.5 and 3 million, you are going to be sitting pretty there because it shows that there's a lot of competition in those places right now. If we break it down here to just show you some of this data in terms of what we've been seeing, and I went over this in my condo report, but essentially everywhere across the lower mainland, we've had a choke point in terms of the differentiation between total inventory and sales. And you can see here in December, 390 active inventory. It exploded all the way to a maximum of 700, right? So just under doubling of inventory. And now we've had 2 consecutive months of a drop in inventory. On the condo side, we saw that in both Vancouver's east side, Vancouver's west side, and the condo market. So it's not just specific to the detached market. We're starting to have a little bit of history where inventory is coming down, and perhaps now we have seen the peak of inventory. And I know I've been working with a lot of buyers who have been waiting and waiting for their perfect home. And what I've told a lot of people in 2024, this has been your best year because you've had the most amount of selection. And we know that Vancouver hasn't had the greatest amount of selection now, but if we now have 2 months of reduction in inventory and we get the December numbers back in January to see a third month, I think it's fair to say that we hit the peak in inventory and we're starting to pare it down. So in the blue line here is the sales. So you can see the gap here between the 64 sales and 628. There's still quite a nice large gap as opposed to in December and January where there was a chokehold. So as a seller, you want to operate in these chokehold conditions. As a buyer, you want to have it opened up. In terms of pricing, even though we've seen these softer numbers, there hasn't been a huge drop off in pricing. We're sitting at 3.338 million for your average priced home on Vancouver's Westside. And if we look at sellers' best bets, selling homes in Kerrisdale, University, and 6-bedroom properties, and then buyers' best bets, homes between 5.5 million, 6 million in Arbutus, Cambie, Mackenzie Heights, Kilchina, and Southlands. So as a buyer, you have a lot of selection right now to be able to maneuver where you want to be and get into those homes. When you talk about days on market, we did see a 53% increase, 26 days on market in November. That's how long it was taking you as a seller to sell your home on average. And then everything else was pretty much right on point. Sale price, just a 1% variance increase month to month. Sale to list price ratio 1 per month. So that's pretty much null in there. Moving over to Vancouver's Eastside, we're doing a little bit better in terms of sales ratio, but we're in balanced market conditions just above that 12% marker. So we're sitting at 13% sales ratio. There are a number of areas that are in seller market conditions on Vancouver's Eastside. Fraser, that's where I live, Killarney, and Mount Pleasant, Renfrew Heights as well are in seller market conditions, and then Victoria. And then on the opposite, if you're looking for some great opportunity, Collingwood, 107 inventory, 3 sales, 3% sales ratio. Keep in mind, this Collingwood area has had a land use change, and a lot of these properties are these land assembly units that are very, very high priced and have been sitting on market for days and days and days. So it's sort of inflating what's really going on there because most of the properties in there are part of these land assemblies. You still have Grandview Woodland sitting at 6%. You have Renfrew Heights sitting at 10%, South Vancouver 8%. So there are some areas here where there is some opportunity, and then you do have a number of areas where there's not a lot of data, but there's been no sales. In Strathcona, there was no sales last month. And as I've talked about before, that Strathcona area, now that the hospital is completely out of the ground, it's going to start changing that landscape there in the years to come. I encourage all of you just to search the new St. Paul's Hospital, what they want to do with the outbuildings, what they want to do with the community. So that Strathcona area is going to gentrify. It's going to get cleaned up. It's going to be a great, great place to live. So you have the opportunity still to get into that area and I think have some great, great value in that side. When we get over to the price band here, looking for some opportunities, anywhere from $1 million up to 175, you're in seller market conditions, 2 to 2.25 seller market conditions. So entry-level homes are still competitive in these price bands, as you can see. Once you start getting over the 2.75 mark, it drops considerably down to single digit 3% and 2% sales to active ratio. But if you're looking on Vancouver's Eastside in that 2.75 plus realm, you're getting a very, very, very nice home. So you definitely want to be a little bit more strategic here. You can see that on Vancouver's Eastside, the sales ratio on price band is a little bit more competitive, but you want to focus more in on the communities and then pair it with the price band to get you the best area for a purchase. And then when we look on days on market, it stayed the same almost since October, 28 days on market. So very similar as to what the days on market are on Vancouver's Westside. And if we are looking at sellers' best bets, selling homes in Victoria and 3 to 4 bedrooms, and buyers' best bets, homes between 2.75 and 3.5 in Collingwood, Grandview, Woodland, South Vancouver, and 7+ bedrooms. Finally, as we look at this 13-month market trend line, you can see Vancouver's Eastside had a huge influx of inventory. December, that choke point that I've talked about here, 310 in December, jumped up to 601, and we've had 2 small but 2 consecutive months now of a drop in inventory. The sales are still, essentially flatlined across the board. There is still a nice gap here, but I think what we're going to be seeing next year is this reduction of inventory, these reduction in rates, which is going to prop up the market. Pricing here, you can actually see it's been doing a little bit better the last half of the year. We're bouncing around up until February, just under $1.9 million for your average price point, and now we're close to that 1.9 and staying up there and staying pretty consistent, staying around that 2 million mark since June. When we're talking about those price bands, we can see here all the way up to that $1.5 million mark, 1 to 1.5. it was quite competitive. And if you are looking and there is opportunity in there, you can see that 20 inventory, just 8 sales between 125 and 1.5. If that is what your budget is, I really encourage you to start looking at homes and getting in, because on December 15th, those are when these new big mortgage changes come into effect. And the two changes are as follows. The first one being first-time home buyers can get a 30-year amortized mortgage instead of 25 years. So that saves you about 9%. So you're going to get a little bit more money. You're going to get a little bit more savings there, which is going to help first-time home buyers. And then insured mortgages are now going to be raised with the bar going from 1 million to 1.5. So at the 1.5 mark, instead of having to put 20% down, $300,000, you can now put down $125,000. So that's going to be a massive help. A lot of people have an issue with the down payment and they're always having to save and save and save. These new regulations are going to really intensify the market, and you can see there's not a ton of opportunity for the detached in Vancouver's east side. Vancouver's west side, for sure, you're not going to be able to get into that, but there's still some inventory left. It is competitive, but when all these changes do come into effect, it's going to, I think, alienate that segment completely. Not to mention on December 11th, we're going to have another reduction. Is it going to be 0.25%? Is it going to be a full 50 basis point? We're going to have to wait and see, but we know that throughout December and January, we're going to get more help on these rates dropping. I had a client of mine and he just locked into a 3-year fix with Scotia at 3.9%. So money is starting to get cheap again. There's going to be more consumer confidence. I will be doing my next market update just on a macroeconomic level for Canada, but we know that consumer confidence is at, a 2 or 3 year high. So people are getting a lot more comfortable and wanting to transact, and we can see that sales are starting to increase, inventory is starting to come down, and sales we know have increased just over 30% as well. So there's going to be some moving and shaking here. As a whole, on the real estate calendar, if you're a buyer, buying in December and January is always a really good time to get you that value. And as a seller, it isn't a hard and fast rule that you need to wait till the spring. When we look at this analytical data here, you can exactly see if you are in a type of home, in a type of area and price band, whether it makes sense to do something now or do something later. You always have to think of transactions in multiple pieces and multiple moves on a board. For example, right now it's a great time to upsize. So if you're thinking of upsizing, I'll be putting my home on the market right now to get you on that extended price point to save on some of these soft markets on Vancouver's east side and Vancouver's west side. If you're looking to downsize, I would definitely wait till the spring. I think that is where you're wanting to be in terms of being able to get the most amount of your home and then being able to downsize and taking advantage of the difference on the way down. But there's always time to transact, and if you are needing more information, make sure you reach out to me. Make sure you book that discovery call. It's in the description below. My name is Kyle Mark. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or relocate to my beautiful city of Vancouver, I'm your Vancouver realtor, and I am here to help you with your real estate goals. Make sure you check out my listings here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.